got my engine here on the bench. I'm just gonna go ahead and start adding back all the parts. Every time I removed a couple pieces that related to each other, I'd put them in a bag, zip it up. These are like the rave valves. So got the caps here. This is the only part of the rave valve that you don't get, which is just the plastic cap springs and retainers. But flywheel, magneto, all that stuff is all in separate bags. So I'm just gonna start putting it back together. I'm gonna try to get the engine like 90% of the way back together, and then I'm gonna drop it in. This is how I took it off the motor mounts, leaving just here, and then the back motor mount. And I'm gonna drop it back in the same way. The only difference is when I took it apart, I didn't have the intake. Actually, that's the exhaust manifold. I'm gonna put that on and use that to drop it in, and then I'm gonna put the pipe on top, just the route in which I took it apart. But I'm gonna start putting it together. I'll check back in with you guys for doing the timing on this. I want to get the flywheel on, flex plate and all that, or whatever, so I can put my wrench on the nut so I can turn it that way, so I can get the timing set up. But I have the little wheel. I have a new disc that I purchased, and obviously I'll walk you through how to time that. Alright, so we got our crank seal tapped in there, ready to go. Got up my flywheel back together. I had to take this drum off in order to get the puller on. When you take your engine off, you'll have to take these bolts out so the puller can thread into the flywheel. But we got our gasket that goes here. That came with our SBT engine installation gasket kit. It's like 30 bucks. If you buy their expensive engine, it comes with the engine. If you don't, you gotta buy it. It's 30 bucks. It includes just the gaskets you need and some seals you need in order to put the engine in. I got it over here. Not bad. So we're gonna put this gasket on, slide this plate on, get those screws in, then we can put this back on, get the nut on for that, which is around here somewhere. And then there it is. And then I'll be able to crank the motor over with a wrench on that nut, which that'll make setting the timing part pretty easy. So that's why I'm doing this now before I do that. But I'll go ahead and do that and then check back with you. Alright, I've set the timing, and there's lots of videos out here that show you how to do this, but I'm just going to quickly run through. On the magneto side, or the forward side, you set your cylinder to top dead. It's pretty easy to do on the top dead center. It's pretty easy to do on the bench. I just cranked over by hand, watch this cylinder go up until I see it start to drop, go back a little bit, get it right in the center, no problem. You can do things by putting things in the spark plug or whatever. There's lots of tactics to do that. Then you set your wheel to either 360 mark or the 0 mark, same thing. You want that on the bottom edge of this inlet. You can see my mark right there is a little bit away from the edge because it meets the edge because it goes to the center. So you just want it so it hits the bottom of the edge. Then for this 787, it's 147 degrees from here to where you want your wheel to be. If you can see, it's right on the money. If you put this plate, I have my old one here so I can show. If you put the plate on like this and it doesn't line up right, take it off and flip it and put it back and it'll move. The teeth don't line up perfectly on either side, so one side might be better than the other. You should be able to get it pretty spot on. From my quick research, it appears that the other motors that seadoo makes, like the 717 I think and the 567 or whatever the heck they are, have different numbers, so you need to look up your specific number. But it's pretty easy. It took me 20 minutes of watching videos and staring at it because it seems daunting, but it's not. I find it confusing because everyone just says, oh, you get as close as you can, but that seems really weird to me when you're talking about timing of an engine. But you just need to get as close top dead center as you can, and this is kind of what it'll look like. And yeah, there's plenty of videos out there for this, but just thought I'd show. So I'm gonna go and put the cover back on, and then we're done with that. All right, so a slightly interesting piece. My old oil pump drive piece used to go into the crankshaft, and that would run the oil pump. I noticed with my engine they sent me this, which is a different style, which I wasn't sure why, but it's because this crankshaft that they put in here won't receive this old style, so they send you the new style and it just slips over the crank nut like that. So no big deal, but if you see this in here with your SBT motor, that's why. It's the updated style oil pump drive piece. And then I put the new seal in around here that comes with their installation kit. Alright, so I got everything put together here. I got these little inlets put on that they send you. Warning, put these on first before you put this plate on, because I actually had to take this back off because this one can't spin because it wanted to hit this. So make sure you put these on before this. There's a similar one on the back side, which you also need to put on. It doesn't have anything interfering. And then make sure you take your two water valves right there and there off your other motor, because you need to transfer them over. And then there's the other oil line I'm giving you. I don't know why they make you transfer those two water lines, but they give you the oil lines because they all come out. So I have no idea, but whatever. Got my oil pump back on, put the oil lines back. Yeah, everything's ready to go. Before I drop the engine in, I'm gonna put the exhaust manifold on, just because I think it'll be easier to carry. I know the exhaust manifold has like a mount if you wanted to like use a cherry picker, but I'm just gonna put that on just so I don't have to later, and it'll make it a good carrying point. But I mean, everything is on here except for the starter. I haven't put the starter on. I have a brand new starter, but I need to go buy the mounting bolts for it. It's a long story, but essentially my old starter was stripped, so somebody had bought long bolts and put nuts on the back, but the new starter, the threads are common to the starter, so I need to go get new bolts for it. So tomorrow I'm gonna get new bolts, put that on, and then the motor is ready to get dropped in here. So go ahead and get that going, and I'll move to the next update. Alright, so I went and put the starter, got the starter all installed in the motor, got the exhaust port all ready to go, flywheel's on, oil pump cable still attached, oil lines hooked up, everything is ready. It's ready to be dropped in, so I'm just gonna wait till I have help from somebody and we'll drop it in there, ready to go. So next will be probably after that. Alright, so the motor's in, carburetors are on, pulse line's hooked up, electrical plug in the back's plugged in, oil lines are all hooked up. What else? We got our two cooling lines hooked up there. I have not done anything with the drive shaft yet. I plan on doing that at the very end. Our ground cables there in the back are hooked up. The positive's hooked up to the starter. That water line as well. There's the two cylinder water lines down here. So you can get a light. And the oil line. So basically the only things that I have left to hook up are the whole exhaust pipe. So from there up to here. There's a cooling line that goes to that, and then another little cooling line which I just have tied right here. And then the 4 bolts that hold it to the manifold, and then the hose clamp thing at the bottom. Once that exhaust pipe's on, I gotta deal with the drive shaft, and then I have my carburetor like air box, but I'm holding off on that just because I want to do some tuning, setting the idle and stuff when I get to the water, and it's a lot easier to do it with that off. And then obviously put the spark plugs back, and I have the spark plugs hung, the wires hung right here, and my coolant temperature sensor plugged in. The only other thing is the reservoir for oil is empty, so I'm gonna have to add to that. Let the oil run down. I know there's a way to bleed the injection system there in the back, so I'll probably have to do that. Luckily, these new clear lines, obviously I can see the oil, so that should be relatively easy. But I'll go ahead and take care of those things, and on my next check-in I should be all ready to go.